The council chamber stretched 500 meters across, built to hold representatives from 47 different species. Dae-hyun stood at the human podium, his hands resting lightly on the smooth surface. He wore a simple gray suit, nothing fancy. Beside him, Yoonji kept her military uniform crisp and perfect. Mina sat in the chair behind them, her tablet displaying the incoming votes. The Keltorian speaker rose on his 6 legs, his voice booming through translators. The motion passes. Humanity will surrender 40% of its colony worlds within 2 standard years. This redistribution serves the greater galactic good. 40%. Dae-hyun let the number settle in his mind. 300 years of human expansion. Families on those worlds. Cities built with sweat and hope. The council wanted it handed over because newer species needed room, and humans had taken too much. Around the chamber, alien representatives clicked, hummed, and whistled their approval. The Vrasic delegation made that harsh, chattering sound they used for celebration. The Thun ambassador's scales flushed bright orange with satisfaction. Yoonji leaned close to Dae-hyun. "They're serious. They actually think we'll just give up our homes." "I know," Dae-hyun whispered back. The Keltorian speaker continued. "Humanity has grown too large, too fast. Your kind spreads across the stars like a plague. This council, in its wisdom, has decided—" "No," Dae-hyun's voice cut through the speech. The chamber went quiet. The Keltorian's translator fumbled for a moment, uncertain if it had processed correctly. "Excuse me?" the Keltorian said. "No," Dae-hyun repeated. He straightened his tie, a small gesture he'd done 1,000 times before. "We respectfully decline." The Vrasic representatives surged forward, their tentacles waving in agitation. "You cannot decline a council ruling. This vote was lawful, democratic. Every species agreed." "Every species except us," Mina said, standing up smoothly. She gathered her tablet and tucked it under her arm. "And since this concerns human territory, human citizens, and human sovereignty, we simply won't participate in this decision." "This is outrageous." The Thun ambassador's scales turned deep red. "You think you can defy the entire galaxy?" Dae-hyun smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "We're not defying anyone. We're just leaving." He turned and walked toward the exit. Yoonji followed immediately. Mina paused at the doorway, looking back at the chamber full of aliens who looked confused, angry, or shocked. "For 300 years, humanity has been part of this council," Mina said. "We've shared our medicine, our technology, our food, our art. We've fought beside you in wars. We've helped rebuild your worlds after disasters. We've asked for very little in return, just the chance to grow alongside you as friends." The Keltorian speaker tried to interrupt, but Mina raised her hand. "You've decided we're too successful, too widespread, too much. Very well. We understand. Humanity will now withdraw from all galactic affairs, effective immediately." "You can't just—" someone started to shout, but the humans were already gone. In the human embassy building, staff had already begun packing. Dae-hyun had sent the coded message during the vote, and his people knew what to do. Boxes filled with files, personal items, and equipment lined the hallways. "All ships?" Yoonji asked, checking her comm device. "Every single one," Dae-hyun confirmed. "Military, civilian, trade vessels, everyone comes home. We're pulling every human out of non-human space within 72 hours. "The traders won't be happy," Mina noted. "Some of them have spent decades building relationships out here." "They'll understand," Dae-hyun said. "Or they won't, but they'll come home." The withdrawal happened faster than anyone expected. Human cargo ships left alien ports half-loaded. Diplomats packed embassies in hours instead of days. Scientists abandoned joint research stations. Teachers left alien schools. Doctors walked out of alien hospitals. On the trading station, Nexus Point, a Keltorian merchant named Vec rushed to the human docking bay. He found his human trade partner, a woman named Borum, loading the last containers onto her ship. "Borum, wait! What's happening?" Vec's translator made his panic clear. "I'm sorry, Vec. We're going home." Borum sealed the container and signaled her crew to lift it. "But our contract! We have shipments planned for the next 3 years." "Contract's void. Council wanted us gone, so we're going." Borum's face was sad but determined. "The Council didn't mean everyone, just the colonies, just some territory. They meant we were unwelcome. So we're leaving, all of us." Borum climbed into her ship. "I really am sorry, Vec. You were always fair with me." The airlock closed. Vec watched the human ship undock and jump away into faster-than-light travel. He looked around the docking bay. 12 human ships had been there that morning. Now it was empty. Across the galaxy, the same scene repeated millions of times. Humans simply left. No arguments, no fights, no threats of revenge or promises to return. At the Galactic Council's emergency session 3 days later, chaos reigned. The Vrasic representative was screaming about human medical shipments that never arrived. The Thuni ambassador demanded to know why human computational systems were all shutting down simultaneously. Smaller species delegates begged for someone to explain what was happening. The Keltorian speaker, the same one who had announced the ruling, stood at the central podium looking confused and angry. "This is childish. Humanity is throwing a tantrum." "They're gone," said the representative from the Ort Collective, a usually quiet species. "They didn't threaten us. They didn't make demands. They just left, like we asked them to. We asked them to give up some colonies, not abandon galactic civilization entirely." "Did we?" The Ort representative's voice was soft. "We told them they'd grown too much, taken too much, that they were too successful. What did we expect them to do?" The Keltorian speaker had no answer. In human space, behind borders that were suddenly guarded by automated defense stations, Daehyun sat in his new office on Earth. Reports flowed across his screen. Every human had made it home. 0 casualties, 0 incidents. Yunji entered with 2 cups of coffee. "The Council is sending diplomatic requests. 14 messages in the last hour alone." "Delete them," Daehyun said. "All of them? All of them. We're done talking." He looked out the window at Earth, blue and beautiful and home. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was beginning to realize what it had lost. But that was no longer humanity's problem. 6 months passed in silence. Hyunwoo stood in the observation deck of Border Station Sentinel, watching the automated defense grid shimmer in the distance. Once, this station had been a busy checkpoint where human and alien ships mingled freely. Traders haggling over prices, tourists eager to see new worlds, scientists collaborating on research. Now it was empty except for the skeleton crew maintaining the defenses. "Another one," his second officer called out. "Keltorian diplomatic vessel requesting permission to approach." "Play the message," Hyunwoo said. The same automated response played that had been playing for 6 months. A calm, neutral voice that could have been male or female or neither. "Humanity is no longer available. Please do not contact us again." The Keltorian ship lingered for an hour, then left. "That's the 5th one this week," the second officer noted. "They're getting desperate," Hyunwoo said. On Earth, in the Intelligence Analysis Center buried deep beneath the mountains, Jiyeon stared at the screens displaying intercepted alien communications. Her job was to monitor what was happening out there in the galaxy humanity had left behind. It wasn't pretty. "Director, you need to see this," her assistant said, highlighting a cluster of reports. Jiyeon scanned through them quickly. The Keltorian medical system was collapsing. Human-designed diagnostic equipment was failing, and they had no idea how to repair it. The Vrasic food supply was in crisis because human agricultural techniques had been keeping their soil fertile. The Thune educational networks were offline because human computational frameworks had been holding them together. "How many governments are in trouble?" Jiyeon asked. 47 at last count. Real trouble, not just inconvenience, economic collapse, infrastructure failure, social unrest. And they still haven't figured out why? Oh, they know why. They just didn't realize how much they depended on us. Her assistant pulled up another file. "This is a transcript from the Vrasic Council's emergency session. They're calling us parasites who secretly infiltrated their systems to make them dependent." Jiyeon laughed, but it was bitter. "We gave them everything freely. They could have learned how to maintain it. They chose not to." She continued reading reports. Species that humans had been trading with for centuries were facing economic disaster. Luxury goods were one thing, but medical supplies, agricultural technology, water purification systems. Humans hadn't just been traders. They'd been partners helping solve problems across the galaxy. And now those problems were back, worse than before. On the colony world Haven's Gate, right at the edge of human space, Administrator Soo-jin watched her screens with concern. The planet on the other side of the border, a Keltorian colony called Tereth, was dying. A plague had broken out, something that should have been manageable with modern medicine. But the Keltorians' medical facilities had depended on human diagnostic systems and human pharmaceutical supplies. Without them, they were helpless. Soo-jin could see the distress signals, hundreds of them, thousands. Her assistant, a young man named Ki-won, stood beside her. "We could help them. Our medical facilities could handle the overflow." "We could," Soo-jin agreed, "but we won't." "That's cruel." "Is it?" Soo-jin turned to face him. 6 months ago, they voted to take our homes. They called us a plague spreading across the stars. They wanted to redistribute our colonies like we were children who'd taken too many toys. But those people down there didn't vote for that. The children dying didn't vote for that. "I know," Soo-jin's voice was sad. "But their government did. Their representatives did. And until those governments understand what they did wrong, we can't fix it for them. If we rush in to save them now, they'll learn nothing. They'll think we were weak, that we'll always come running back when they need us." Ki-won looked at the distress signals. "How many will die before they learn?" "I don't know," Soo-jin said quietly. "But that's their choice now, not ours." In the Galactic Council chambers, the atmosphere had changed drastically. Where once there had been confidence and pride, now there was desperation and fear. The Keltorian speaker who had announced humanity's expulsion 6 months ago stood before the council, looking smaller somehow. His shell had dulled. His movements were slower. "We must re-establish contact with humanity," he said. "The situation is becoming critical." "They won't respond," the Vrasic representative said, their tentacles drooping. "We've tried everything. Diplomatic requests, emergency channels, even distress signals." "Maybe we need to try harder," suggested a Thune ambassador. "Or maybe," said the Ort representative quietly, "we need to try differently. We demanded they give up their colonies. They left entirely. We called them greedy. They took away their generosity. Perhaps the problem isn't their response. It's our request." "You suggest we apologize?" The Keltorian speaker's translator made his disgust clear. "I suggest we recognize reality. Humanity wasn't parasitic. We were. We took their innovations, their help, their partnership, and we gave back what? Suspicion, resentment, demands that they make themselves smaller so we could feel bigger." The council chamber erupted in argument. Some agreed. Many didn't. Pride was a hard thing to swallow. Back on Border Station Sentinel, Hyunwoo received an unusual alert. A fleet was approaching. Not a diplomatic vessel this time. Ships bearing Vrasic military markings. "Battle stations," he ordered calmly. His crew moved efficiently. But Hyunwoo didn't prepare weapons. Instead, he activated the automated defense protocols and began moving the station backward, deeper into human space. "Sir, they're hailing us," communications reported. "Ignore it. They're demanding we surrender the station. Continue retreat." The Vrasic fleet pursued. 300 warships, a significant force. They probably expected resistance. A fight. Something they could win to restore their pride. Instead, the human station simply moved away, always staying just ahead of them. The defense grid retreated with it, layer after layer pulling back. "They're getting frustrated," Tactical reported. "Some of their ships are breaking formation trying to catch us." "Let them come," Hyunwoo said. "We're not here to fight, we're here to defend. There's a difference." Over the next 2 weeks, the Vrasic fleet chased the station deeper into human space. They passed through 3 defensive perimeters, each one retreating before them. No shots fired, no provocations, just silent withdrawal. "They think we're afraid," his second officer said. "Good," Hyunwoo replied. "Let them think that. Let them come just a little further." On Earth, Ji-yeon watched the Vrasic fleet's progress with interest. "They're approaching the 4th perimeter," her director nodded. "Recommendations? Let them cross it. Let them learn. No destruction. No, we're not monsters. Just make them understand." The director smiled grimly. "Approved." When the Vrasic fleet crossed the 4th defensive perimeter, pursuing what they thought was a fleeing human station, something strange happened. Every ship simply stopped working, not destroyed, not damaged, just offline. Engines dead. Weapons systems unresponsive. Life support still functioning, but everything else dark. In the flagship, the Vrasic admiral stared at his dark screens in confusion and growing fear. Then a message came through, the first communication from humanity in 6 months. A human face appeared on the screen, Commander Sung-ho looking calm and professional. "You have been rendered non-threatening," Sung-ho said. "Your ships are intact. Your crews are safe. Repair teams will arrive in 48 hours to restore basic life support and navigation. Then you will be escorted back to your space. This is the only warning you will receive." The screen went dark. The Vrasic admiral sat in his powerless ship, surrounded by his powerless fleet, and finally understood. Humanity hadn't been weak before. They'd been patient, and that patience had just run out. Commander Sung-ho stood on the bridge of the defense cruiser Quiet Resolve, watching the Vrasic fleet drift helplessly in the void. 300 warships, completely disabled, not a single shot fired. "Status of their life support?" he asked. "Stable on all vessels," Nari reported from her station. She coordinated the tactical AI systems that had simultaneously disabled the entire fleet. "Atmosphere is good. Temperature controlled. They're uncomfortable but safe." "Good." Sung-ho checked the time. "Repair teams will arrive in 46 hours. Make sure they have food and water until then." "Already done, sir." "Supply drones are en route." Across the bridge, Marine General Yoongi reviewed tactical data with a slight smile. "They brought their entire 5th battle group. Must have thought they'd roll right over us." "They didn't know," Sung-ho said quietly. "That's the problem. They never asked what we were capable of. They assumed." "Should we let them keep assuming?" Nari asked. "No." Sung-ho's voice was firm. "They need to understand what happened here. Not to scare them, not to threaten them, but so they know the truth." He opened a wideband communication channel, not just to the Vrasic fleet, but to everyone listening. And everyone was listening now. Every species with sensors pointed at human space wanted to know what happened to 300 warships. "This is Commander Seung-ho of the Human Defense Fleet. I'm broadcasting this message to the Vrasic vessels and to anyone else monitoring this situation." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "Your fleet entered human space with hostile intent. You pursued our station for 2 weeks. You fired ranging shots. You demanded our surrender. At any point during those 2 weeks, we could have destroyed every ship in your fleet. We chose not to." On the Vrasic flagship, Admiral Thork listened with growing dread. "The technology you're experiencing is not new," Seung-ho continued. "Humanity has possessed electromagnetic pulse systems capable of disabling vessels for 40 years. We've had quantum targeting systems for 30 years. We've had automated defense grids for 50 years. We shared none of this with the Galactic Council." He let that sink in. "We shared medical technology instead, agricultural advances, entertainment, art, philosophy. We gave you things that helped you live better, healthier, happier lives. We kept the weapons to ourselves because we didn't think we'd ever need them." Nari pulled up a holographic display showing the defensive grid. Layers upon layers of systems that could detect, track, and disable any threat. Technology decades ahead of anything the galaxy had seen. "We're not telling you this to threaten you," Seung-ho said. "We're telling you so you understand. When we were part of the Galactic Council, we held back. We made ourselves smaller. We limited our expansion, our military, our influence, not because we were weak. Because we wanted to be good neighbors." He looked directly at the camera. "You mistook our restraint for weakness, our generosity for obligation, our friendship for dependency. You voted to take our colonies because you thought we wouldn't fight back. You were right. We didn't fight. We just left." Across the galaxy, in government chambers and military command centers and ordinary homes, beings watched and listened. "This Vrasic fleet will be repaired and sent home unharmed. We will not pursue, we will not retaliate, we will not invade your space or make demands. We're simply showing you what happens when you push us. We retreat, and behind that retreat is a wall you cannot break through." Seung-ho closed the channel. On Earth, in the Council of Humanity's emergency session, the mood was tense. 50 representatives from every major human colony world gathered to discuss what happened. "We've revealed our capabilities," one representative argued. "They'll try to match them now." "Let them try," replied Dae-hyun, who had returned to active duty as humanity's chief strategist. "We're still 40 years ahead. By the time they develop pulse technology, we'll have moved on to something else." "The real question," said Mina, attending via holoconference from her teaching position on New Sol, "is what we do next. The Vrasic learned a lesson. But what about the others?" "The others are paying attention," Jion said, displaying intercepted communications. "The Keltorians are having emergency council sessions. The Thun Empire just fired their entire military command. Smaller species are starting to ask questions about what else we're not showing them." A representative from the Mars colonies spoke up. "Some of them want to apologize, make amends. Should we listen?" "Not yet," Dae-hyun said firmly. "Apologies are easy. Understanding is hard. They need to truly grasp what they did wrong, not just say sorry because they're in trouble." Yoonji, now commanding the home fleet, added her perspective. "From a military standpoint, we're secure. Our borders are solid. Our defensive systems are holding perfectly. We can maintain this position for decades if needed." "But should we?" another representative challenged. "People are dying out there. The Keltorian plague, the Vrasic food crisis, the Thun civil conflicts. We have the means to help." "We do," Dae-hyun agreed. "But helping them now would teach the wrong lesson. They'd learn that humans always forgive, always help, always come back. They'd learn nothing about respecting our sovereignty or treating us as equals." "So we let people die?" The representative's voice was anguished. "We let governments fail," Mina corrected gently. "We let systems collapse. We let civilizations face the consequences of their choices. It's not kind. It's not easy. But it's necessary." Sujin attended from Haven's gate, her face drawn. "The plague on Terrath is getting worse. I watch their distress signals every day. I have facilities that could save thousands, tens of thousands." "I know," Daehyun said softly. "And if you can't handle it, we'll rotate you out. No shame in that. This is hard for all of us." "I'll stay," Sujin said. "Someone needs to witness what's happening. Someone needs to remember why we're doing this." The 48 hours passed slowly for the Vrasic fleet. Human repair drones arrived exactly on schedule, restoring basic systems to each ship. Navigation, communications, life support at full capacity. Nothing more. Admiral Thork found himself escorted by automated human vessels back to the border. No human faces appeared on his screens. No voices spoke to him. Just silent machines doing their job with perfect efficiency. As his fleet crossed back into Vrasic space, a final message appeared. "Do not return. This is your only warning." Thork returned to his homeworld in disgrace. His government, expecting news of a glorious victory, instead received a lesson in humility. The admiral was stripped of his rank. The military command was reorganized, and for the first time, the Vrasic collective began to question whether attacking humanity had been a catastrophic mistake. In the Galactic Council chambers, now noticeably emptier without human presence, an emergency session convened. Every species had watched the Vrasic fleet's humiliation. Every species had heard Seung-ho's message. "They were toying with us," the Keltorian speaker said, his voice hollow. "All these years, centuries of cooperation. They could have conquered us at any time." "But they didn't," the Ort representative pointed out. "They still didn't. Even now, with the Vrasic fleet helpless, they didn't destroy it. They disabled it, repaired it, and sent it home." "What kind of species does that?" someone asked. "A species we profoundly misunderstood," the Ort representative replied. The council debated for hours. Some wanted to prepare for war, convinced humanity would eventually attack. Others wanted to apologize immediately and beg for their return. A few, a very few, suggested something different. "Maybe," said a small species ambassador, "we should try to understand them, not as threats or saviors, but as equals who we wronged. Maybe we should actually change, not just say we'll change." It was a radical idea. Back on the Quiet Resolve, Seung-ho received reports of galactic reactions: fear, anger, confusion, a little respect finally. "Think they'll learn?" Nari asked. "Some will," Seung-ho said. "Some won't. But that's not our responsibility anymore. We gave them 300 years of partnership. We gave them friendship, help, and patience. We gave them every chance to treat us with respect. And now? Now they have to earn it back." He looked out at the stars, at the vast galaxy that humanity had once explored alongside countless other species. It felt smaller now, lonelier. But sometimes, Seung-ho thought, you had to be alone before you could truly be together. The lesson was delivered. Now came the hard part, waiting to see who understood it. 1 year after humanity's withdrawal, the galaxy was unrecognizable. Taejin stood in the observation room on Station Watchkeeper, the most remote human outpost, monitoring long-range sensors. His job was simple: watch what happened out there without interfering. Be humanity's eyes on a civilization tearing itself apart. "Another war," his assistant noted, highlighting a sector near Thune space. "That makes 16 active conflicts since we left." 17, Taejin corrected, pointing to a new flare-up near the Keltorian borders. "This one just started." He'd been doing this job for 8 months now, watching species that had coexisted peacefully for generations turn on each other. Resources they'd shared were now fought over. Trade agreements collapsed. Old grudges resurfaced. The truth was becoming clear. Humanity hadn't just been participants in galactic civilization. They'd been the glue holding it together. On Earth, Hana compiled her sociological report in a quiet university office. Charts and graphs covered her screens, showing the breakdown of galactic society in stark detail. The Thune Empire had fractured into 7 separate governments, each claiming legitimacy. Civil war raged across their colonies. The strong central government that had ruled for 500 years simply fell apart once human computational systems stopped managing their bureaucracy. The Keltorian medical crisis had killed millions. Their plague spread unchecked because they'd never bothered learning how human diagnostic equipment actually worked. They just used it, assuming it would always be there. The Vrasic food shortages were causing riots. Famine loomed. Their agricultural yields had dropped by 60% without human soil management techniques. 47 species total were in crisis. 14 more were in serious trouble. Only the smallest, most self-sufficient species were managing normally, and even they struggled without human trade goods. "It's worse than we predicted," Hannah told her colleague during a video call. "Did we do this?" the colleague asked. "Are we responsible?" "They voted to take our colonies," Hannah said. "They voted to diminish us. We just stopped helping. Is that wrong?" "I don't know anymore." Neither did Hannah. She watched people die from across the galaxy, knowing human help could save them. But she also knew that rushing in to save them would teach exactly the wrong lesson. In the remains of the Galactic Council, now operating from a smaller chamber with only 32 regular attendees, desperation had set in. The Keltorian speaker who'd announced humanity's expulsion was gone, died from the very plague that was ravaging his people. His replacement, a younger Keltorian named Shal, stood before the depleted council with a proposal. 14 species wished to formally apologize to humanity and request their return. Apologize? The Vrasic representative's tentacles curled in disgust. "We should be demanding they help. People are dying." "People are dying because of choices we made," Shal said quietly. "The humans didn't cause the plague. They'd been preventing it for 100 years, and we never noticed. We never thanked them. We just assumed it was natural that diseases didn't spread anymore." "They made us dependent on them," someone shouted. "No," the Ort representative said. "They offered help. We accepted it. We could have learned from them. We could have asked questions, studied their methods, understood their technology. We chose not to. We chose to just take what they gave us and complain it wasn't enough." The council chamber erupted in argument. Half wanted to apologize, half saw it as weakness. Nobody could agree on anything. "We need a unified response," Shal pleaded. "If we approach humanity divided, they'll dismiss us entirely." "Then let those who want to grovel do so," the Vrasic representative said. "The rest of us will maintain our dignity." And so, the galaxy split. Ji-hoon sat in his comfortable apartment on New Sol, watching the formal diplomatic transmission arrive. 14 species had sent a joint message to humanity's government. An apology. A request for dialogue. He'd been humanity's liaison to the Galactic Council for 30 years before the withdrawal. Now he was an advisor to the human government, helping them understand the aliens they'd left behind. "They're sincere," Ji-hoon said during the government meeting to review the message. "I know these ambassadors. Some of them personally. This isn't a ploy." "What are they offering?" asked one council member. "Everything." Ji-hoon displayed the terms. "Complete governmental reforms to ensure equal representation. Reparations paid to all species harmed by their vote against us. A 50-year probationary period where they prove their commitment to true partnership. And in return, they want us back. Trade, diplomacy, medical aid, technology sharing, the things we used to do." Dae-hyun studied the terms carefully. "These are good terms, better than I expected. They're actually holding themselves accountable." 14 species, Yoonji noted, less than a third of the original council. What about the others? 18 have refused to apologize, citing pride or sovereignty concerns, Ji-hoon said. The remaining species are still debating. Some want to wait and see what we do. Others are too collapsed to function diplomatically. Mina joined via hologram from her teaching sabbatical. If we accept 14 species back into partnership, the others will see it as rewarding weakness. They'll think we're easy to manipulate. But if we reject sincere apologies, Daehyun countered, we're no better than they were. We become the rigid, unforgiving empire they feared. The debate went on for hours. Finally, Daehyun made the decision. We accept, but only for these 14. And we make it clear that this is earned, not given. They met our terms. They get our partnership back. The others can watch and learn. 1 month later, a fleet approached human space. Not warships this time. Diplomatic vessels from 14 species, each carrying their government's formal representatives. They were allowed to approach a designated world, Harmony Station, an old diplomatic hub that humans had built but abandoned a year ago. The aliens arrived to find the station had been reactivated. Human staff waited. Conference rooms were prepared. Medical facilities stood ready to help the Keltorian delegates who were still suffering from plague effects. Ji-hoon met them in the main chamber. He recognized many faces, some he'd called friends. "Welcome," he said simply. Shal, the Keltorian representative, stepped forward. "We come in humility and shame. What we did was wrong. The vote to take your colonies was unjust. Our treatment of your generosity as obligation was disgraceful. Our assumption that you would always help us regardless of how we treated you was foolish." He bowed low, a gesture of deep respect in Keltorian culture. "We have brought proof of our reforms." Shal presented data chips containing legislative changes, constitutional amendments, reparation payment plans. "We ask not for your forgiveness, though we hope for it someday. We ask for the chance to earn back what we threw away." Ji-hoon reviewed the documents carefully. Everything was there, real changes, not just promises. "Humanity accepts your apology," Ji-hoon said formally. "We agree to resume limited partnership under the terms specified. Trade will resume within the month. Medical aid will be provided for humanitarian crises. Technology sharing will occur on a case-by-case basis." He paused. "But understand this. We're not returning to how things were. You will not have unlimited access to human help. You will not receive technology without understanding it. You will not take our partnership for granted. This is a new relationship, built on mutual respect, not our obligation to you." "We understand," Shal said, "and we're grateful." The other 13 species representatives echoed the sentiment. For the first time in a year, humans and aliens sat together at a table as partners. Not everyone was happy. The Vrasic Collective issued a formal denouncement, calling the 14 species traitors to galactic dignity. The Thune remnant governments, too busy fighting each other to worry about humanity, barely noticed. 18 other species maintained their stubborn pride, insisting they'd done nothing wrong. On Taijin's screens at Station Watchkeeper, he watched the galaxy fracture into 3 distinct groups. The Reformed Alliance, 14 species working with humanity, already showing signs of recovery. Trade flowing, medical crises being managed, conflicts being resolved. The Remnant Council, 18 species maintaining the old council, struggling with collapsing infrastructure, multiple wars, and societal breakdown. Too proud to apologize, too weak to thrive alone. The Independent Zones, species that rejected both paths, trying to survive on their own with varying degrees of success. "It's a new galaxy," Taijin's assistant observed. "It is," Taijin agreed, "and we helped make it this way." "Do you think we did the right thing?" Taijin watched a Keltorian medical ship receiving human supplies in Reformed Alliance space. Watched a Vrasic colony starving in Remnant Council territory. Watched independent species struggling but free. "I think we did the necessary thing," he said finally. "Whether it was right, we'll know in 50 years." Back on Earth, Daehyun stood before the Human Council delivering his assessment. We didn't retreat in defeat. We retreated to teach a lesson about respect. Some have learned it. Some haven't. Some may never learn it. He looked at the assembled representatives. But for the first time in 300 years, the species working with us are doing so because they want to, not because they expect to. They're partners, not dependents. And that makes all the difference. Mina asked the question everyone was thinking. What about the ones who refused? The Remnant Council? The ones still suffering? We watch, Daehyun said. We wait. And if they ever truly understand what they did wrong, we'll be here. But we won't chase them. We won't beg them to let us help. The door is open, but they have to walk through it themselves. And if they don't, then they don't. Their choices, their consequences. We're done taking responsibility for civilizations that won't take responsibility for themselves. It was harsh. It was difficult. But it was the only way forward. The galaxy had changed. And so had humanity's place in it. 20 years after humanity's withdrawal, Daehyun stood on the balcony of his retirement home overlooking Earth's Pacific Ocean. He was older now, grayer, but his eyes were still sharp. He'd spent the last 2 decades watching the galaxy reshape itself into something new, something better. He hoped. His tablet chimed with news from across human space. The Reformed Alliance was celebrating its 20th anniversary. 23 species now, 9 more having joined over the years after proving their commitment to genuine partnership. They were thriving. Trade between humanity and the Reformed Alliance had reached levels higher than during the old Galactic Council days. But it was different now. Humans didn't just give technology away, they taught it. Alliance species didn't just receive help, they contributed. Real partnership, built on mutual respect. The Remnant Council, those 18 species that refused to apologize, had fared less well. 3 had collapsed entirely, their governments dissolved into chaos. 7 were barely functioning, maintained only by external support from the independent zones. 8 remained defiant, insisting they'd done nothing wrong, even as their civilizations slowly declined. The independent zones had found their own path. Some species discovered they were stronger alone. Others formed small alliances among themselves, avoiding both human partnership and remnant council politics. It was messy. It was complicated. But it was honest. Mina arrived at Daehyun's home that evening, traveling from her position as director of the Interspecies Relations Institute. She'd spent 20 years studying the new galactic order, teaching young diplomats how to navigate it. The Reformed Alliance wants you to attend their anniversary celebration, she said, pouring tea for both of them. I'm retired, Daehyun replied with a slight smile. You'll never be retired. You're the man who walked out of the Galactic Council. The one who started all of this. I just did what needed doing. That's what makes you perfect for the speech they're asking for. Daehyun sipped his tea. What would I even say? Tell them the truth. Tell them why it mattered. He thought about it for a long moment. Maybe. Let me think about it. 3 weeks later, Daehyun found himself standing before representatives from 23 species at the Reformed Alliance headquarters on Concordia Station. Humans had built this station specifically for the Alliance, a neutral ground where all species met as equals. He looked out at the audience. Keltorians whose medical systems now rivaled human sophistication because they'd learned, not just copied. Vrasic, whose agricultural independence made them exporters rather than importers. Urt, who'd become key mediators in interspecies disputes. 20 years ago, Daehyun began, I walked out of the Galactic Council. Many of you were there. Some of you voted for the measure that drove us away. Some of you protested it. All of you witnessed what happened next. He paused, gathering his thoughts. Humanity didn't leave because we were angry. We left because we were tired. Tired of being taken for granted. Tired of our generosity being treated as obligation. Tired of making ourselves smaller so others could feel bigger. The chamber was silent. We could have fought. We had the weapons, the technology, the power to resist. But fighting would have made us conquerors. It would have proven the worst fears about humanity true. So instead, we simply removed ourselves from the equation. Shal, now elderly but still active in Keltorian politics, nodded slowly. The galaxy nearly tore itself apart. People died. Civilizations collapsed, and humanity watched from behind our borders, offering no help. That was the hardest thing we've ever done. Dae-hyun's voice grew softer. But it was necessary, because you needed to understand what you'd lost, not through our threats, not through our demands, but through the absence of what we'd freely given. Only then could true partnership begin. He looked at each delegation. The 23 species here today understood that. You apologized. You made real changes. You proved through action, not words, that you wanted genuine partnership. And because of that, we came back. Not as your saviors, not as your superiors, but as your equals. A human diplomat named Sunmi stood near the back of the chamber. She was young, born after the withdrawal, part of the new generation that had grown up in this reformed galaxy. Her ship, the New Dawn, waited in dock outside. After Dae-hyun's speech, she approached him. Captain Sunmi, New Dawn, she introduced herself. I have a request to make. Go ahead. There's a Keltorian colony on the edge of Remnant Council space. Tereth Colony. They're experiencing a medical crisis. Plague outbreak. Similar to what happened 20 years ago. Dae-hyun remembered Tereth. Sujin had watched it die from across the border, unable to help. The Remnant Council hasn't asked for our help, he noted. No, but the colony has. They're under Keltorian jurisdiction, but their local government has formally requested humanitarian aid. They're willing to meet our terms for partnership. And the Central Keltorian government in the Remnant Council? Refuses to acknowledge the request, says accepting human help would be admitting weakness. Dae-hyun considered this carefully. What do you want to do? I want to help them, not because we have to, not to prove a point, but because we can, and they've asked us as equals. The Remnant Council will call it interference. Let them. Sunmi's eyes were steady. Those people didn't vote to take our colonies 20 years ago. They're just trying to survive a government that won't admit its mistakes. Dae-hyun smiled. You remind me of someone I used to know. Go, help them. But make sure they understand this is partnership, not charity. I will. 2 weeks later, the New Dawn entered Tereth's orbit. Captain Sunmi contacted the colony directly. This is Captain Sunmi of the human medical relief ship New Dawn. We received your request for assistance. We're here to help if you still want us. The response came quickly, relief evident even through the translator. Yes, please, yes. The plague is spreading. Our facilities can't handle it. Understood. We're sending medical teams now. But I need to make something clear. We're not here to save you and leave. We're here to work with you. Your doctors will work alongside ours. Your people will learn our techniques. We're partners in this, not your rescuers. We understand, and we're grateful. The medical teams deployed. Human doctors worked side by side with Keltorian physicians. They didn't just cure the plague, they taught the Keltorians how to identify it, prevent it, and treat it themselves. Within 3 weeks, the crisis was contained. Within 2 months, the plague was eliminated. The Tereth colony government formally petitioned to leave Remnant Council jurisdiction and join the Reformed Alliance. It sparked a cascade. 4 more Remnant Council colonies followed suit. Their local populations tired of central governments too proud to accept help. The Remnant Council denounced it as betrayal, but they couldn't stop it. They were too weak, too fragmented, too stuck in their pride to hold their own people. On Haven's Gate, Sujin watched it happen with mixed feelings. She'd stayed at her post for 20 years, watching Tereth struggle across the border. Now, finally, they were getting help. A message came through from Captain Sunmi. Administrator Sujin, the Tereth government asked me to thank you specifically. They said you sent medical supplies 20 years ago, dropped at the border where their ships could retrieve them. You never acknowledged it officially, but they knew. Sujin smiled. She'd bent the rules a little back then. Couldn't watch children die without doing something, even if it was small. Tell them they're welcome, she replied, and tell them I'm glad they're finally getting the help they deserve. Back on Concordia Station, Mina was preparing a lecture for her students when news arrived. The Thun Empire, fractured into 7 governments for 20 years, had finally reunited. Their new unified government's first act was to send a formal apology to humanity. We were wrong, their message stated simply. We let pride destroy us. We let our empire fall apart rather than admit we needed help and had treated our partners poorly. We've spent 20 years rebuilding ourselves. We're ready now to meet your terms, if you'll still have us. The human government debated for a week. The Thun apology was sincere, backed by real reforms. But they'd also been among the most vocal opponents of humanity, among the quickest to vote for taking human colonies. They've learned, Ji-hoon argued. 20 years of collapse taught them what a week of debate never could. Or they're desperate, someone countered. How do we know this is real? We don't, Dae-hyun said, attending the meeting as an advisor. But that's always the risk with trust. We require proof of commitment, we set clear terms, and we watch carefully. If they fail to meet the standards, we walk away again. But if they're sincere, we gain a partner who truly understands the value of partnership. Humanity accepted the Thun apology. The Reformed Alliance grew to 24 species. 10 years later, Dae-hyun passed away peacefully in his sleep at the age of 96. His funeral was attended by representatives from all 24 Reformed Alliance species, and even a few from the independent zones. Shal, now ancient by Keltorian standards, gave the eulogy. Dae-hyun didn't just walk away from the Galactic Council, Shal said. He walked away from everything he'd built for 300 years. He chose dignity over comfort. He chose respect over power. And in doing so, he taught us what we should have known all along, that partnership isn't about dominance. It's not about who gives more or takes more. It's about mutual respect. Shal's voice cracked with age and emotion. We failed him. We failed humanity. But he gave us the chance to learn from that failure. And some of us did. Mina, now elderly herself, attended the funeral with Sunmi, who had become one of humanity's most respected diplomats. They stood together, watching species from across the galaxy honor the man who'd changed everything. Do you think he knew? Sunmi asked quietly. 20 years ago, when he walked out, do you think he knew it would lead to this? I think he hoped, Mina replied. But hope and certainty are different things. He did what he thought was right and trusted that something better would come from it. Did it? Come to something better? Mina looked at the assembled species. The Reformed Alliance. Thriving and growing. The independent zones finding their own strength. Even some remnant council species slowly, grudgingly beginning to reconsider their positions. Yes, she said, it did. Years passed. The Reformed Alliance continued to grow. The Remnant Council continued to shrink. The galaxy found a new balance, not perfect but more honest than before. And in schools across human space and Reformed Alliance territory, children learned the story, how humanity was pushed, how they retreated, how they taught the galaxy a lesson without firing a shot. The phrase became historical, taught to every generation. No threats, no promises. Humanity simply retreated. and the galaxy learned what it had lost. Some species learned in time, some didn't. But those who did discovered something valuable. That true partnership, built on respect and equality, was worth more than any amount of dominance or dependency. It took walking away for humanity to find that truth, and it took humanity walking away for the galaxy to learn it. In the end, the retreat wasn't a defeat. It was a beginning.